you have to really understand your audience, why they're following you in the first place. And the word pander has a negative connotation, but you do have to pander a little bit to give them what they want and then follow up with something that you want.
This is Entrepreneurs the Playbook, where I give you access each week to the world's greatest athletes and executives about their personal and professional playbook and what has made them champions on and off the field. This is the Playbook. Dave Meltzer with Entrepreneur the Playbook, and I got a special guest early in the morning here in beautiful Manhattan, long ways from Nebraska, but Blake Lawrence, ex-superstar at Nebraska.
Superstar.
We'll call him that.
That's right.
But only because, I've been around the greatest players of all time, but I'm more interested in character. And it takes a lot of character to be a young entrepreneur, partner with people, raise money, and that's what this show's about. Mm-hmm. And so getting into that, when did that seed, that spark to be an entrepreneur, when did that start?
Well, I would say as an athlete, there's always a little bit of an ambition to go out and find your own way, create your own playbook, if you will, build a team and be a part of something. But my personal spark, I think back to stories when I was in grade school and took my lunch money and would sneak in the teacher's lounge and buy candy bars and sell them on the playground for double, right? And kept that running.
I can't tell you how many entrepreneurs have a very similar story.
Right.
They were like selling baseball cards, candy bars, something on the playground.
It's the hustle. There's something about finding a way to solve problems early on, and sports is pretty analogous to entrepreneurship and starting things. But if you're going to reach a certain level in sports, you have to kind of put some of those habits that you develop young, mowing lawns and selling candy bars aside and focus on sports. But then as sports goes away, you get to kind of bring those things back up.
How money motivated? Because, for me, I originally was an entrepreneur because I grew up so poor that I just wanted to buy my mom a house and a car.
Right.
How money motivated were you?
I would say that money is not a major motivator for me. I grew up in a split family, so my parents were divorced early. My mom had me when she was 19. My dad was 21. I have an older brother, so my mom had when she was 17 in high school. And she went on with 2 kids, they became divorced to become a physician. She's a doctor. And
wow.
For me, the motivation, my dad's the CEO of Big Brothers Big Sisters, Kansas City. So he worked his way up from an unpaid staffer there to the CEO. So I've got 2 people in my life that really laid an example of, if you can set your mind to it, you can do it. And so for me, that's really what I'm focused on, is trying to take what has been given to me. I didn't have those things to overcome when I was young. My parents did a great job raising me, and didn't have a couple kids while I was in high school or college, and really had a great foundation. So I really want to make them proud, as well as have a lasting impact on the Nebraska community.
And so what was the first real company that you started?
First real company would be in 2010. Audie Kanalik and I, Audie was my roommate at Nebraska, was a kicker in Nebraska. We started a social media agency called Hurrdat, Hurrdat. Silly name, but that kind of represents where we were in our lives. We were 20 years old when we came up with the idea for this, and we were helping businesses grow their online presence through social media, a lot of content creation, community management. And in the Midwest, we were the very first social media shop in Nebraska, and had some great growth and traction, just bootstrapping that thing from the 2 of us to 25 employees, and we sold that one in 2014.
Yeah, you were before your time.
Yeah.
I wish I had some guidance. I talk about mentorship all the time. I believe in even young mentorship. In fact, I use young mentorship to do that. Who are your mentors? Because, to start your own company and build it and sell it in 4 years at 20 years old, you had to have someone helping you.
Yeah, I would say that I was inspired by some. And one of the more interesting things, and serendipitous, if you will, would be in 2008, Bo Pelini interrupted a team meeting and said, guys, I want to introduce a new intern, an unpaid intern at the University of Nebraska. And walk him in here, just give him some respect. And he's going to share a quick story. And his name was Joe Moglia. And Joe Moglia had just stepped down as the CEO of TD Ameritrade, still the chairman of the board at TD Ameritrade. And as a business student, I knew who Joe Moglia was. Not many in the room did. And then from that point forward, I made it a habit to spend time with Joe. He wanted to learn more and more about the linebacker and the defensive schemes at Nebraska. And I want to understand what it takes to go from where he was in his life to a path to being the CEO and chairman of the board at TD Ameritrade. So I look at someone like Joe as an inspiration, and those private moments and conversations after practice, watching 45 minutes, an hour of film once a week for a couple years. I mean, you get to know somebody, and I think that laid a path for me to understand that, if you can find people like that, will take time to spend with you. Ultimately, I want to get back on the other side of the table and give back. But Coach Joe was an inspiration in that conversation that we had, or those conversations we had, I'll remember for a long time.
A lot of people ask me, what college to go to or where to play. Since Leigh Steinberg, everyone thinks I'm an expert somehow, and it's funny because I ask what they want to do after they're playing.
Right.
And I think sometimes I get a puzzling look because they feel as if, it's obvious I'm going to play in the NFL. And I'm like, okay, that's fair enough, but what are you going to do after the NFL? The average career is 2.5 years. And I give them a list always. And the list I give them is the biggest alumni, most supportive alumni, how much money the school makes from football. Because I feel that most college football players, whether it's Division I, II, or III, don't take advantage of the gift that they were given for playing. There's obviously the experience,
right?
But there is a power that is not utilized of being able to network within, a huge alumni base in Nebraska, or Ohio State, or Texas A&M, or UT. There's a variety of Michigan, the great schools.
Right.
And I see 90% of the entrepreneurial athlete not take advantage of the number one resource that they have is the irrationality of middle-aged alumni who love to help football players.
Yeah, and there's a no more irrational fan base than Nebraska Cornhuskers, right? It's one of the things that drew me to this school was, my older brother played quarterback at Kansas, and I grew up in Kansas City. So right down the road, the Lawrence brothers in Lawrence sounded real good. My parents got season tickets on the cheap, But when I got recruited by Nebraska, I fell in love with that fan base, and I knew that community was different. And with the only show in town, if you will, no pro sports, and such a rich tradition like Nebraska, it was really hard to say no to.
Yeah, you got volleyball and football.
That's right, and and they're both volleyball's at a high level right now. We'll get football back, no doubt. But the moment my career was over, because I played 3 years. I played as a true freshman. I started as a sophomore and a junior, and I had concussion issues, had to stop. And every athlete goes through that transition to the next phase of life. And when my transition included entrepreneurship, I went back to, just as you talked about, understanding the value of the in, the in on the side of the helmet, and what that means, how many doors are going to open just because people want to support their Huskers. And Adi and I, for the first 2 years of our first business, every meeting we got was because somebody in the room wanted to spend 5 to 10 minutes with us afterwards talking about the Huskers, talking about that experience. And that's okay to leverage those things. It'll open doors. It doesn't get you business.
No, but if you learn, it stimulates interest.
Right.
And clever entrepreneurs, intelligent entrepreneurs, experienced entrepreneurs like you and Adi transition that interest into a shared vision about a true business case.
Correct.
Right. And people aren't going to invest their money. They're not going to buy your company unless you've built something of value.
Correct.
And you've been able to do that a couple times. So 2014, you have an exit at the ripe age of 24.
Yeah.
So you and I have something in common. We were successful at a very young age.
Right.
And now what do you do? Because the weird thing is, I believe this in football, or I should say even in sports, no matter if you stop in high school, college, or professionally, I believe you live 2 deaths. Especially football, because I still play NABA baseball, right? Adult baseball. I'm 50 years old.
Oh, yeah.
We win the World Series, and I get a little bit of
Love
thrill.
it. Oh, yeah.
But you can't play football.
No.
So a football player lives 2 deaths.
Yep.
I believe, and I've seen this with some serious entrepreneurs. I'm thinking of Dr. Connolly that started Metrex.
Right.
He sold Metrex to GNC for $105 million. That was a death. And he says every day that was the worst decision he's ever made because it wasn't the money, it was the purpose. Did you feel that same feeling when you had to stop football as you did when you sold the company?
It was a little bittersweet. Anytime you get to raise something from the ground up, saying goodbye to it or saying see you later to it, right, is different. But at the time, we also had already started our second business, Open Doors. And so you want to talk about a playbook, if you will.
Nice.
We had 2 businesses. And Adi and I we balance each other really well as co-founders of these 2 businesses. I get to go out and talk and have conversations like this. Audie really is focused on the operational side of the business. So, once we got our first business up and
you're
going,
the good-looking one.
that's right. Somebody's got to do it, right?
Exactly.
Somebody's got to bring this thing to the stage.
I tell Warren Moon's my business partner.
Yeah.
I tell him all the time. I'm like, look, everybody knows I'm the good-looking one.
Right. Yeah.
You're the brains behind
get
this
out there,
operation.
Warren.
You
Yeah.
don't see him here.
No, that's right.
They got me on camera.
People want to see us. We could do this all day.
Exactly.
So, in that moment, though, we had two businesses, and Audie and I were living together. And at one point, I said, okay, I'm going to go run Open Doors. You're going to run Herdat, and we're going to come back together at night, and we're going to just consult each other, right? And
Nice.
it was basically like being a two-sport athlete.
Were you still living together? Were you guys
Yeah,
roommates?
we were living together.
Yeah.
I mean, this is. You're
You guys are
early
old, man.
20s.
You're
Yeah,
20s.
yeah. Eventually, the girlfriend said, "Hey, you guys should probably stop living together."
Right.
No, there's those moments you get back together, and we were consulting and coaching, and we felt as if we were helping each other through some those critical times of growth for the first business and just getting started for the second. But at the same time, we were not giving all of our energy to one. And I think that becomes a challenge, is trying to find that balance when you got multiple operations going on, especially when you want to be intentional about how you leverage that 25 to 35-year-old, that range in your life. And so at that time when we sold Herdat, it was really to make sure that the 25 people that we had there were taken care of. They had a place, and Herdat still is around today. It actually has acquired a couple companies, the company that we sold, so that's pretty cool.
That's really cool.
And we set the foundation so we could both focus our energy on Open Doors, which has been a great investment of our time over the last, 4 years now.
Now you talk about investment of time over the last 4 years. You also had money.
Yeah, that's
Did you put your you started your Herdat
Yep.
with grit and grind
right.
and no cash.
Scholarship checks, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, you have money. Did you invest in yourself?
Absolutely. I mean, we bootstrapped the first year of Open Doors and all that technology, and actually started to develop the technology underneath the Herdat umbrella before we split it off into Open Doors. So a lot of the roots of this company were built on our first one, and I think that's an advantage that not many entrepreneurs have, is the ability to really bootstrap something where you have some cash to a point where you can at least get a proof of concept up and off the ground. So when we officially launched Open Doors, we actually had a couple years of practice and 6 figures of revenue from day one. So that's a good advantage that not many get to do.
And explain to the audience what Open Doors does.
Yeah, so Open Doors helps athletes share content on social media. So with a click of a button, an athlete can get a text message that has a video or image preloaded on their phone that says, this will go out on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram right now. And there's a big green button or a big red button. If you hit the green button, then our software will push out that message automatically, exactly how the person who sent it to the athlete wants it to go out and exactly how the athlete wants to have it go out. So it's giving the ability for anyone to push content to an athlete, to have them share it on their social channels in a very seamless way.
And do you partner with Athletes Network? Do you know Athletes Network?
Yeah. Chris Smith. Yeah. Kansas City.
I'm on the board of Athletes Network.
That's great. Yeah.
And that's why you'll see Warren and I on the front. So
I saw that you did a blog on there a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I usually do something for them.
Yep.
Now, in that respect, though, there's a difference between being an athlete and being an influencer.
Right.
And that's the space I see Open Doors playing in.
Right.
And raising the awareness, educating the athlete on how to monetize their micro audiences.
Right.
And how to monetize, which is perfect because you two guys, Audie and you, get it because you're not Warren Moon, Troy Aikman, or Steve Young.
Right.
Right. And here's the funny thing I tell all the time. I walk through an airport and maybe 1 out of 10 airports, somebody gives me a little bit of a wave and they're an Instagram follower. And then they'll DM me.
Right.
You cannot walk through an airport with Warren Moon, Steve Young, or Troy Aikman, or go to dinner or go anywhere. That's a famous athlete.
Right. Yeah.
And influencers, to me, a whole different realm where you actually, in my opinion, can make more money by being an influencer and have anonymity. Or privacy. It's almost like this perfect balance where every once in a while, somebody comes up to me at dinner every once in a while. Right. And it's really cool. Yeah. Not annoying. Right. Where I've seen people have to give up their entire existence.
Yeah, they got to hide, right? I'm going to piggyback that. And, last night I took a flight from Nebraska to New York City. And I'm walking through security at Nebraska. I played 10 years ago at Nebraska. And I was a skinny white linebacker and played for a couple years. and I get stopped at security and say, are you Blake Lawrence, right? And so what I'm going to say is that there's an airport for every athlete, right? And it's understanding what airport you're going to walk through and you're going to be recognized, and what social media has done has given today's athletes the ability to take that influence that was once reserved for only the greats, right? And really replicating and giving them that pocket of power where they can establish an audience that stays with them forever. And there's no reason for me to be recognized. Yeah. I was not an All-American, not all Big 12. I wasn't Player of the Week, you know.
I get it.
But social media is really what gave me an audience. And I think Audie and I, when we look at the 4,400 athletes now that we work with that use Open Doors, each one of them have those really passionate fan bases, whether they have 100 followers, 100,000, or 100 million. There's somebody that is deeply entrenched with who they are, why they exist, and we're really helping those athletes maximize the value of that.
It's interesting because I tell people, you know, I do a lot of business coaching, and as I see my clients, old clients from Leigh Steinberg in Sports One Marketing, as they get older, their careers are going like this. As I get older, my career is going like that. But I tell people all the time, they get frustrated. They say, well, I got 200 followers. Excuse me. I said, November last year, I had 200 followers, and I had a vision. Because I'm a little older, I said, in 10 years, if I could have 1.6 million followers in 10 years, which anybody could do if you work on your content, you get out. And I said to myself, when I was young, right, and I was CEO of Samsung's first phone division and speaking at Comdex, I dreamed of speaking in front of 2,000 people. Today, every day, I speak in front of 1 million people. Every day.
Powerful.
Not just every month, once in a while. But I have, and that audience is going to grow as long as I stay authentic, right? I don't sell anything, keep it organic. So, you know, as time comes to close, our last question, you understand the space probably as well as anybody. You know, with both companies, Heard That and Open Doors. What advice would you give the 50-year-old influencer here who wants to grow that audience, or an entrepreneur trying to start their business? What advice would you give me?
I would give you advice that we give athletes, and because athletes and influencers, they're just people, right, with an audience.
You must have saw my highlight tape from Occidental, right? Division III DB.
That's it, man.
I've never stopped at any airport for
there
football.
You go.
Let me just tell you that.
I would say understand your audience and provide value. And one of those things is you're given a microphone, you're given a stage, and it's when you're able to get on that stage that you're providing something of relevance, and it's a give and a take, right? So if there's an athlete, and they really have to understand that, yes, they do have a place in culture and community and those aspects, but they're followed also because of what they do on the field. And you know what we're doing at Open Doors is trying to get those athletes access to that content that they do create that's happening between the lines, which complements them so that they can capture an audience and then turn that audience, once sports are done, into an avid follower of those things that they care about. And so you have to really understand your audience, why they're following you in the first place. And the word pander has a negative connotation, but you do have to pander a little bit to give them what they want and then follow up with something that you want. And then you can eventually transition those audience members that might have come to you for the first time because of the podcast or because of the blog or because of the book. And then now they're following you because of your community efforts or because of what you're giving back to the sports technology or sports marketing world. But however they find you, they're still going to have that one attachment, right? They're not going to forget the first thing that brought you there.
That's a great point.
And then if you can give to that, you can get a lot from the audience and turn that into a lot of value.
Yeah, I call it shifting the paradigm of value, right? I woke up this morning on the airplane and said, may God put 10 people in front of me I can help, and I've been blessed to have you helping me here, and I look forward to working with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now that I have a really good grasp, obviously we can do a lot of stuff together.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you should be really proud of yourself, because I think maybe these are just 2 short successes for you. I see some great things. You might end up like that other Nebraska guy that lives there with a lot of money.
Oh, the Oracle, Warren.
Yeah, the other Warren.
Yeah.
The one that lives in a smaller house than me.
That's right. Yep.
Radical humility doesn't hurt either.
It does.
Anyway, this is Blake Lawrence, Dave Meltzer with Entrepreneur, the Playbook.